Good afternoon and welcome to our very special webinar presentation, Cryptocurrency Boom in Latin America. My name is Lindsay Lehr. I lead the payments practice at America's Market Intelligence. And for those of you who are not familiar with AMI, we are dedicated to analyzing, providing insights into the payments industry in Latin America to help our clients and our audience make the best strategic decisions in this environment that is increasingly complex, increasingly competitive. And for that reason, we're very excited to bring this content to you today in partnership with Bitso, which many of you may know is a leading cryptocurrency exchange in Latin America. We're thrilled to have a special guest today we'll be introducing in a moment. And before we get into our content, just a couple of words about why we are presenting this content today. We are, if you go back, Tim, just one. Thank you. AMI is dedicated to bringing the most relevant and recent insights into the industry to our audience. And as you all know, over the past year, cryptocurrencies have really exploded in Latin America. In the press, in the news, we see crypto events happening increasingly. Almost on a weekly basis, we have news from new exchanges. We have legacy players announcing integrations and partnerships related to digital currencies. We have governments making announcements very relevant and interesting in the region. So, of course, this is a totally new topic for us and for most of our network. We know that this topic can be intimidating. It can be difficult to understand. And so we are here today to try to provide a little bit of landscaping, to provide the basics of what we think is happening, what we see emerging in Latin America, and what is important for you to pay attention to. At the end of the day, we have come to realize that every company operating in the payment space in Latin America now needs a cryptocurrency strategy. So this webinar is a bit of a first attempt to help guide our audience in developing that strategy and understanding what are the key nuggets of information that you need to know to do that. So thank you again for being here. A couple of housekeeping items. A question we get every webinar, we will be sharing both the presentation deck and the recording at the end of this session. So please look out for that, a day or two after the session that will be available. And we would love for you to ask your questions. At the bottom of the Zoom panel, you'll see a Q&A button. So please go ahead and ask your questions. We'll address them at the end when we have our panel discussion with our guests. Very quick legal notice. Standard procedure, please be sure to take all the information you see today, in conjunction with other information and be responsible for any decisions you make based on the information. Let's get into our introductions and who will be delivering our discussion today. I'm very happy and proud to introduce Tim Jacklich on our team, Senior Analyst at AMI and our very own in-house cryptocurrency specialist. Tim, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Such a pleasure to be here talking about this very important topic. As Lindsay mentioned, I have been leading the research efforts of AMI into cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, focusing particularly on the bridges that are being built between the financial tools that consumers in this region are already comfortable with and the new technologies that are being deployed in the crypto space. So really excited to have the opportunity to speak a little bit more about that in this event.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. And we're honored to be joined by Abraham Cobos, Crypto Strategy Manager from Bitso. For those of you who don't know, Bitso is Latin America's leading cryptocurrency exchange and the region's first cryptocurrency-related unicorn. So Abraham, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please take a moment, tell us about yourself and a little bit about Bitso.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's always super important to tell the story about crypto and how this technology is enabling financial freedom across the world. And a little bit about Bitso. We just reached I think that some days ago, 3 million users. We are the leading crypto exchange and crypto platform in Latin America. And my specific role is leading the implementation of innovation products and defining which assets we should be including in the platform. And also I'm helping define the strategy of Bitso for all the company. So it's a great job to be at the forefront of the industry, investigating how to implement crypto to to the world in Latin America.
Terrific. Well, we really look forward to your remarks. To give you all a little bit of what the agenda is today, we'll start off with a few presentation slides from Tim, presenting some original from new AMI research, followed by hopefully 20 to 30 minutes of discussion with Abraham, and as well as your questions. So we're going to have an exciting session. Now, before I turn it over to Tim, I wanted to let you all know that many of you probably have already tried to do your own desk research around cryptocurrency in Latin America and probably been very disappointed. There's very little information out there, especially on Latin America. And the number one question that we get from our clients is, what's the adoption rate of crypto so far? What are the use cases that people are interested in? And so to take the temperature, very basic, we wanted to just take the temperature of consumers in the region. We, about 2 weeks ago, finalized a survey of 400 consumers in the region across 4 markets to gauge level of adoption, level of interest, and the uses of cryptocurrency so far. Tim is going to take us in depth into those results. But to start, I want to already, pull our audience here to figure out how much has our audience, which is going to be especially digitized, interested in payments, how much have you all invested in crypto? So we're going to launch a poll. You'll see on your screen here the question. We want to know, what is your level of experience with cryptocurrency so far? Are you an active trader? Have you purchased at least once just to maybe test it out? Are you interested but haven't yet taken the plunge, or so far you're not interested? Go ahead and take a moment to answer that. And in the meantime, I will tell you about the poll that we conducted with consumers. You'll see in the results, we conducted an online survey with 400 consumers, Brazil, Mexico, Peru, and Argentina, around cryptocurrencies. We finalized the results just about a week ago. And so it's highly updated, very interesting. Tim's going to show us the details there, but just wanted to share with you a little bit of the methodology. All right, looks like we have just almost everyone. We'll take about 10 more seconds to get your vote in. Okay, let's go ahead and share those results. Okay, so we have 17% of our attendees today have already are frequent crypto purchasers. So that's pretty aggressive. That's pretty good. 23% have already. So we have a full 40% of our participants have already purchased cryptocurrency. So that's pretty remarkable. And almost half are interested, but have not yet done it. Crypto curious is what we call that. So, okay, very, very interesting. We'll see how this compares with the overall Latin America sample in a moment. So thank you all for your response. And I'll turn it over now to Tim to walk us through some of our AMI's research and get us started.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. So we at AMI are focused on Latin America and the Caribbean, as Lindsay mentioned. And one of the points we'd like to make for all of you today is that in the world of crypto, you should be too. Latin America is truly emerging as the frontier of digital currency innovation and uptake. Just in the last year and a half, Latin America has been home to the world's first fully operational central bank digital currency in the Bahamas with the Bahamian sand dollar. And just very recently, which we'll chat about with Abraham in just a few minutes, the world's first bitcoinized economy in El Salvador. So these truly are, groundbreaking initiatives that are really testing the boundaries of digital currency technology and cryptocurrency, and really, we think, will reveal powerful lessons for the global financial system and what other regions and countries will be able to do with these technologies. So we wanted to share some initial thoughts on why Latin America has emerged as truly the perfect laboratory for cryptocurrency innovation. There are a couple of factors that come immediately to mind. So certainly the bank penetration and digitization rates and the gap that exists between bank account ownership and smartphone ownership and internet access is a powerful catalyst for new technologies. So when millions of Latin Americans have access to the internet, but not to a bank account, that creates room for other financial products, such as crypto wallets that can be accessed online. And an interesting possibility that then creates is for some consumers to leapfrog the traditional financial system straight to a crypto product as their first financial tool. Another factor that contributes to Latin America's crypto innovation is the robust inbound remittance flows into the region. In 2020, those flows totaled to more than $100 billion. And this robust volume, unfortunately, has not been matched always by innovation in the cross-border transfer space. So still many Latin Americans experience friction in receiving payouts from abroad, from family members living in other countries, and also have to pay high remittance fees, which creates room for products that can accomplish that same goal of getting funds from overseas at a lower cost and maybe a faster speed, such as crypto, that creates the opportunity for alternative technologies to disrupt that space. And then finally, as you all will be aware, Latin America is home to some of the world's most volatile national currencies. So certainly in the case of Venezuela, we've seen a near collapse of the currency since the beginning of 2020. You can see a substantial decline in the value against the dollar. But in Argentina as well, rampant inflation has driven down the price of the domestic currency, creating an incentive for nationals of these countries to hold their savings in another asset, an alternative asset to prevent erosion, which creates another opportunity for crypto products, alternative digital currency products to fill that need for consumers in these spaces, whereas other consumers elsewhere with more stable currencies may be more hesitant because of the volatility of some cryptocurrencies. So this is all to say that Latin America is the perfect storm for digital currency innovation. And we are certainly seeing that reflected in consumer preferences as relates to crypto. So as Lindsay mentioned, this is just a first look at the preferences of consumers throughout the region, but it is a very powerful snapshot taken, as Lindsay mentioned, just a couple of weeks ago to give a sense of the consumer enthusiasm for crypto products. So across these markets that we surveyed, 8% of consumers reported already purchasing cryptocurrency. That number is remarkable. It is even higher in markets like Argentina, which have kind of that inflation factor that we mentioned. But another factor that we wanted to mention, or another figure here, is that an additional 18% are interested in purchasing crypto, but haven't made the leap yet, which is to say that nearly a fourth or over a fourth of Latin American consumers either have purchased or want to purchase crypto. To put that in perspective, we have here on the right credit card penetration rates across all of these markets. So as it stands, the crypto penetration is below that credit card number in all markets. But imagine for a moment if all of the consumers who are interested joined the crypto ecosystem. That could rival the penetration of credit cards, which again would have been unthinkable until very recently. So crypto is gaining traction throughout the region and is doing so very quickly. One thing that it is important to note is that as we think about that first generation of crypto users, that 8% of early adopters versus the crypto curious, those who are interested in crypto but haven't yet made a purchase, is they have very different preferences. They're different groups of people who will be interested in different sets of digital currency products. So the crypto user base, those who are early adopters, per our data, are mostly male, mostly working age, and tend to come from a higher income level, which tracks, especially since many crypto exchanges have on-ramps, or until very recently have had on-ramps limited to bank transfers, so potentially excluding many consumers who lack a bank account. And these crypto users certainly are very interested in the investment portion of crypto, wanting to see a nice return when a crypto asset goes to the moon, so to speak. But they also exhibited a strong confidence or strong enthusiasm for the decentralized spirit of crypto, wanting to avoid government influence in their currency, and also wanting to protect their savings from inflation. When we think about that crypto curious portion, they have a different set of demographic characteristics and also a different set of benefits that they're most interested in. So first off, they have a much wider age range, including many younger consumers who are interested in taking that leap. They also have a much higher percentage of women who are interested in joining the ecosystem. And they tend to come from the middle to lower income groups. So this next phase of crypto uptake will include a wider range of Latin American consumers. And what that means is that their preferences for the benefits of crypto are also slightly different from those early adopters. Namely, they certainly are interested in the investment factor, but they're much more interested in crypto as a vehicle for protecting their savings and gaining access to more stable assets or stable currencies through digital currencies such as stable coins. So this is to say that crypto companies and financial institutions that are thinking about enabling access to crypto should think very carefully about how to follow these consumers and build products that will help to serve their preferences and serve their interests. On the right, just to finish up here, consumers, even as they are enthusiastic about crypto, do still have many concerns about crypto assets. Certainly, there's a lack of understanding of crypto, which I think goes for consumers everywhere, including some of those who have more knowledge of the space as new products come out which challenge our understanding. But there also is a high level of concern about the risk of price collapse. So given the volatility that we've seen over the last several months in major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and ETH, there is a concern that the savings protection or the ability of crypto to retain value might be at risk. And then to a lesser extent, but still quite significant, there's a fraud concern among consumers and a concern that governments will impose regulations that will limit access to these assets. So this is all to say that there are substantial opportunities to serve the interests of both early adopters, but also the next generation of crypto users. But that may require addressing some of the concerns and trying to increase consumer comfort with crypto. One use case in particular that we wanted to zoom in on is crypto remittances. So the possibility of using crypto as a means for receiving funds from abroad. So as we can see here, there is substantial interest in crypto as a tool for improving cross-border payments across all markets, with the most interest expressed here by Peruvian consumers and Argentines, and the least interest expressed by Brazilians. Now, one interesting segment that I want to just note is Mexican consumers, who 15% of whom expressed an interest in receiving crypto remittances. That that's not the highest number we have here, but certainly as a percentage of Mexico's total inbound volume would be a substantial amount of money. And I know that Abraham can speak to this in just a short while, but I know that that's something that Bitso is thinking about quite a bit, enabling that corridor. And then just on the right here, we have this interest in crypto remittances broken down by demographics. So you see that younger consumers are much more interested in this potential use case than our older consumers, which reflects the general openness of younger consumers to trying out different financial products, especially if they see a tangible financial benefit to them. And then we also see more of an interest among lower and middle income consumers, saying that even among those consumers who may still be quite attached to cash, there is an interest in this use case of crypto as a vehicle for receiving remittances. So this is very much something to watch in the crypto space, and would certainly be a disruptive presence if uptake increased in this area. And then a final piece that we want to touch on in this segment of the webinar is crypto evangelization. So thinking about that segment, that roughly 20% of consumers who are interested in purchasing crypto but have not done so yet. We asked these consumers in our survey, what would make crypto more attractive to you? What would be a pull factor that could bring you into the crypto ecosystem? And the results are fascinating. So first, we see that more than half of these consumers said that access to crypto through a trusted international brand, such as Visa, MasterCard, or PayPal, would make them more comfortable with participating in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And this is a very important call to action to note that the endorsement of brands that consumers already trust can be a powerful catalyst for uptake of crypto. We then see that the next highest crypto evangelization factor is the ability to spend a crypto balance with a debit card. So this is interesting because one of the questions that many consumers have about crypto is, okay, so I have a balance, I have a crypto wallet, but what can I do with that other than seeing the value go up or down? And consumers, nearly half of the consumers that we polled in this segment were interested in crypto debit cards as a vehicle for spending that balance at the point of sale, which again speaks to the demand for this type of product, which is just now being rolled out by some exchanges in the Latin America region. Another important factor here is that crypto access through a local bank would also be a catalyst for crypto uptake, which we can connect again to that point about endorsement of crypto by trusted institutions. So the Latin American consumers who are interested in crypto are very interested in doing so in a way that connects with the brands and connects with the financial tools that they already trust and they already feel comfortable with using to manage their finances. And then the final piece, the ability to spend a crypto balance with a QR code was a substantial share, nearly a third of these consumers, but less so, we should note, than that debit card share, which speaks again to the growing enthusiasm for cards generally among Latin American consumers, which certainly applies in the crypto space. So these are just some initial findings from us taking the temperature of the region, but with some very powerful implications for how members of the payments ecosystem should approach consumers and serve their growing interest for cryptocurrency products. With that, I'll turn it back to Lindsay.
All right, thank you, Tim. Okay, so if we go to the next slide here, we'll invite Abraham to come online, and I also want to remind everyone if you arrived late, please feel free to ask your questions in the panel below, and we'll incorporate your questions into our discussion here. So thank you, Tim, for sharing some fascinating data. I want to point out that the data shows that already 8% of the general Latin American population has acquired cryptocurrency. That's a pretty impressive number. You know, when we share that in our conversations, it's a surprising finding. So Abraham, I want to turn it over to you, and I want to first off get your initial reactions to some of these numbers. Some of the findings that we saw in our survey. Do they track more or less with the Bitso experience so far? And just tell us a little bit how your response to some of this content.
Absolutely. I think that this investigation is super insightful, and it resonates with a lot of the information that we have in the market. And it's super important to understand how Latin Americans look at crypto, because sometimes in some other economies, in other more developed economies, people tend to think that crypto might be only some speculative mean for investments or something like that. But in Latin America, it's a real solution for some problems that we have. The ones that Tim was talking about unbanked population, about the mobile penetration, about the volatility of our fiat currencies, of our fiduciary money. So there are some geographies in LatAm where seeking for a store of value is something really natural that some people will every month worry about. So understanding crypto in that way, and understanding that crypto might be an evolution of money to new frontiers, it's super important. And most of the insights brought in this analysis is what they imply, that technology is moving faster than money. So we need the convergence between technology and money.
Great. And I love that idea that technology is moving faster than money, and because those in the ecosystem are in the payments ecosystem. That's almost why we're doing this session, is to help people accelerate their thinking about this and understand this is something that's happening now and that will continue to accelerate. And so Abraham, let me ask you, I love learning, about Bitso's kind of motto, right? Or mission. I don't know, you can correct me, but making crypto useful. And so you saw a little bit of the use cases that people are interested in. You saw a few of the factors that might convince people to use cryptocurrency. Can you tell us, how do you think about making crypto useful? What does this mean to you? And what are some strategies that you've already employed that you've seen successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So some people tend to think that crypto is some kind of a financial asset. That's one of the definitions. But in its nature, crypto is technology. And when you convert something into an engineering problem, that's technology, a lot of things can evolve a lot faster. So if you convert or you turn the economic imbalance and economic access problem and analyze it as an engineering problem, then there are a ton of ways of making a solution. An example of that is, for example, in the internet, when people started addressing the information sharing problem as an engineering problem, then some technological solutions come up. And in Bitso, we say make crypto useful because today it's a lot easier, but 5 years ago, interacting with Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever blockchain, it was quite complex. It was like, like interacting with the internet in the early 90s. Then things came along in the internet that expanded the use of that network in an exponential way. The internet explorers, such as Mosaic and other ones. So right now in Bitso, our motto is make crypto useful because we want that people use the benefits of crypto in their day-to-day as we today are using the internet. This doesn't mean providing exposure to a volatile asset. That's maybe one of the misconceptions, is making a transfer from Mexico to Argentina in 5 seconds with a so little cost, or paying your coffee in Brazil with Bitcoin, something like that. That those kind of things are things that today might seem a little far-fetched, but adoption is just increasing. So reducing the friction between this great technology and the impacts that it can have, that's the whole definition of Bitso and making crypto useful.
Okay, fantastic. And you spoke to some of those use cases that consumers are interested in, or that you envision, right? That making crypto useful down the line. Can you speak to us a little bit about the adoption level so far, and who is using crypto so far, according to you guys in your platform? We saw in our survey results that so far it's the early adopters, right? Middle, late 20s into 40s, mostly male, high income. It's kind of like an early adopter of financially and technologically savvy population. And then, as Tim pointed out, the next wave of adoption is going to be among more the middle of the pyramid and a more diverse group of consumers. So does that track so far with what you're seeing? And what is necessary to make those crypto curious people finally decide to purchase crypto and get involved?
Yeah, definitely we're seeing something like that. And that's why growth is being exponential, because we're moving from early adopters to early followers. So Bitso, it took several years to achieve our first million users, then some months to achieve the second million, and a lot less months to achieve the third million. So we're expecting to have 4 million users early, like really fast, before, when you see that exponential adoption curve, it's just that's only going to accelerate. So what does we need to move to bring the next 10 million users to crypto? I think that there are a couple of definitions, and actually that slide that you presented with things that people need to invest in crypto, or not only invest but use crypto, that really resonates with us. For example, a brand that they can trust and they can identify, and that's a common process in any technology. For example, when a thing like, I don't know, Uber came up, first it was kind of weird. How are you gonna go into a car of someone that you don't know, that you ask through an app? And then it's a commodity, right? You cannot move without a ride-hailing app, whichever that is. So people need to be more identified with a brand and with something that provides them security. And that's one of the main reasons on why Bitso is so keen to work with regulators. So because a way to prove, like to walk the talk that you are reliable, is if you have the regulators validation. And not only validation, but you're helping to move this technology and this industry in a way that it's tied to the best practices in the world of custodying assets, of providing security, and of a ton of different things. So that's why one of the main reasons. And obviously that's really related also with the expansion and adoption of the brand across different acquisition mechanisms for users, right? For Bitso to acquire more users. That's the first one, like a trusted brand, or someone that you can trust, or somewhere that you can trust to understand crypto. The second one, I think that it's also super important that it's how easy is it to use. Like opening a Bitso account, it can take 5 minutes. And if you go to the bank to open a bank account, well, God forbid how long you're gonna take. Starting with leaving your house to open a bank account, that's a huge friction for a user. In Bitso or in these platforms, you can download an app and then onboard really fast. And also in the part of the ease to use, people, they don't want to understand and to share, or they don't need to understand how the blockchain works, or what proof of work is, and what miners are, or whatever. It's like coming again with this analogy with the internet. We don't need to understand the protocols that connect email to your Gmail. You just need to send an email and get it in seconds. So the ease to use is it's something that we are really deep diving. And the third one is that education, because people don't need to understand, but people need to be able to understand in an easy way. For people that are curious to know what's happening, they need to have all the resources to understand how Bitcoin works, who is Satoshi Nakamoto, what is proof of work, what is a hash, because it's a part that it's absolutely passionate on understanding these topics. It's also important to provide transparency and visibility of how things work.
Mm-hmm.
So Abraham, that's a very interesting point. And there's a lot of questions that come up based on what you just said. But I suppose my first question is, how do you balance? I mean, essentially you have two very different user bases, right? People who don't need to understand blockchain, they're looking for an alternative to banking solutions. And others who are really passionate about the blockchain, they're really passionate about the technology. And so how do you balance? These two groups have different needs, different levels of expectation. How do you balance that? And how do you provide education? I'm asking kind of very practically, how do you guys deliver education to those who are very new to crypto?
Absolutely. So fortunately in Bitso, I'm leading the education efforts, because there are a ton of elements on why educating people. The first one is because when you have an educated user base, then you have to step up your game and deliver better products, because they are going to ask
more
for better
sophisticated,
things.
more demanding, right?
Exactly. More sophisticated, more demanding. And also they will understand how things work. So we've had, for example, people sending Bitcoin across the globe and raising a ticket like 1 minute afterwards, like, where's my money? I haven't received it. And don't worry, it takes 10 minutes. You need to mine a block, blah, 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 right? So, but people need to have that answer beforehand in order to use the network in the right way. So that's the first part. The second part is that a more educated user will use a lot more the product. Why? Because I might be one of the I don't know, like top users of Bitso, just because I love trading. Well, I don't not trade, but I love accessing Bitcoin, right? So and that's why, because I've been studying this industry for the past 6 years. So that's the second one. And the most important one is that I have this saying that the price of Bitcoin and the volatility of Bitcoin is like a Trojan horse for freedom and financial freedom. Because a lot of people will resonate with this, that they will enter saying like, oh, this industry has such a huge volatility and gains, and they will look at the price and they'll acquire a little bit of Bitcoin, and they will say, what is Bitcoin? And then, you go to all this questioning about what is money, how does money work, right, what is inflation, and those huge analysis that when you study Bitcoin and crypto, you start seeing things that you cannot see, you cannot unsee anymore, right? So this ignites a huge framework of questioning and understanding our financial system. And answering your final question, we already have a beta version of Bitso Edu that you can go, that it's edu.bitso.com. And we are structuring that in a way that we want to gamify and to help people understand. Okay. Because whenever you go to any of these sites that tries to provide crypto education, you can go and say, what is Bitcoin? And you read that article, and the next article link is like, what is liquidity mining, or what is another super complex topic. There's not a way that say, okay, read what is Bitcoin, then read, I don't know, what's a hash, and then read what's Ethereum, then read what's a smart contract. And at the end, you have this type of a Bitso certified user in Bitcoin. So you'll have like a tag and
Oh, fascinating.
an incentive for people to say, okay, so I read 1, 2, 3, 4, then I have this like price. And the thing is that everything needs to be, it's about the type of content and convenience. People don't want to read, I don't know, a book to say that they understand Bitcoin. They want a validation and they want a path like easily delivered for them. So that's what we're building, and we are in our initial deployments, and we want to be the top crypto educator in Latin America because this is a technology that will change our lives. Mm-hmm. Imagine that our parents knew about the internet, or if you that are listening knew about the internet in 1995, maybe you'd be in a different place just because of that information asymmetry, understanding that the internet was going to be the next big thing. Right now, that's the position in crypto, and crypto is already the next big thing. We just need to look at the market cap and all the adoption metrics.
That exponential adoption, as you mentioned. Great. Yes. Thank you so much. I love, it's very true that a good client or a good customer is an educated customer. And so the fact that that's a top priority for you and you have a creative way of delivering that's very interesting. Tim, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I would love to ask a follow-up, kind of pairing a couple of the topics that you've addressed, Abraham. I am very interested in how you think about serving the needs of that, the next generation of crypto users who maybe won't have as deep an understanding of, Satoshi and the technical aspects of various cryptocurrencies, and just want something that will work and work better than what they previously had. And particularly, it seems like every day there are new cryptocurrencies being launched. Bitso is adding new cryptocurrencies that can be traded. And so when a less crypto savvy user enters the app, they may now see 15 cryptocurrencies, each with their own different characteristics and utility. And so I wanted to ask how you think about, again, very simply communicating the power of crypto to those consumers. And I particularly wanted to tie that to an example of something that Bitso launched very recently, which is a kind of a combined stablecoin tool where it gives a singular unified balance of USD stablecoins, even though it contains 3 different classes of USD backed stablecoins, which kind of is an interesting way to overcome that hurdle to say it doesn't matter to the average user whether it's USDC or true USD. They just want to know what it's going to do for them. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answering the first one on the asset offering in Bitso, that's why education is so important, and structured, simple education is so important, because we are titling this concept of education with learning paths. So once a user gets into this platform that we are still building, for example, we can have a learning path about DeFi, and there we can educate people about the different assets that we've included, like Uniswap and Chainlink, that basically they are under the same kind of ecosystem that it's DeFi. So imagine that some user says, what is Uniswap? So they click and they go to the article about Uniswap, and they, in the learning path, they can read before what is Chainlink or read after what is Compound. And there we have the assets that we already have included. So that's how we're envisioning that. And one of the most important and challenging things is how are we going to inspire curiosity for people to get there? And we're working on that. And that's why we have like this price of the certification, because people want to be acknowledged for everything. And this is a prediction, and in some months you're going to see people in LinkedIn sharing their Bitso certified in whatever, that we're going to, because we already see that, right? Every time that someone finishes a Coursera course, they just pay for the certificate so that they can publish it in LinkedIn. Obviously, users are not going to pay for this, but we want to educate these users. And the second thing that we were, regarding your question, is then again, people really don't care about how things work as long as they're safe, right? And that's why it's important for us, the safety. That's why, for example, in Mexico, we were the first entity to have the fintech. Well, our commercial partner Envío, that is a partner on which we operate, was the first company to have the fintech license. And this is Envío, right? So we are in the forefront of the regulation to provide that security for users. And once something is safe, is validated, 7 years of trajectory for Bitso, huge investors, the first crypto unicorn in LatAm, all those things are validations, then you just need something that works and works a lot better. So that's what we're building, like identifying those use cases where sending money from Mexico to the US is 10 times better than sending it through your bank account or through other means.
Perfect. Thank you, Abraham. Wow, we have a lot of questions from the audience, and so I'm going to try to weave them in as we continue our discussion. But you just mentioned remittances, which inevitably is related to financial inclusion and digitization, right? And so one of our questions from the audience is, will the low levels of digital inclusion across the region impact adoption of crypto? It sounds like the person seems to think that it will negatively impact the adoption of crypto. Perhaps crypto actually will really be a motor for increased digital and financial inclusion. How do you all think about including folks who have either decided not to get involved with banks or maybe haven't had access to them in the past?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's all about friction. It's the same thing as I was mentioning at the beginning. How hard is to open a bank account? For a lot of people in Mexico, it's not about a problem of annoyance. It's a real problem about access. So some people in Mexico are underbanked, meaning that they need to travel 1 hour, 30 minutes, or a huge time of annoyance to access a bank account. But they need financial services, right? Everybody needs financial services. Money is something so intrinsic to humanity that everybody needs financial services. So the thing is that these people, they are a lot more probable to have a smartphone than access to a bank. So that's where we reduce friction. And then again, the thing is about how we increase the access to people through crypto services. So it's about how to expand this kind of services and how people, what's the need for their financial services. Remittances, cash-to-cash remittances are most of the remittances in this the biggest remittance corridor in the world, that is the Mexican peso, the US dollar. So, and that's the cash-to-cash remittances, it only works, and it's so expensive only because there's not yet another better product to do it. But it's a matter of time to do that. It's a matter of time that transactions are someone in the US that wants to send a remittance to Mexico, to send it through crypto in seconds, because if they do that, then and they can do it through Bitso, their family will have access to money in seconds or in minutes maybe. So those things are just about adoption. And people, sometimes when we run this kind of analysis, we always think or we tend to think that people like really analyze the use cases and the benefits what they're doing. In reality, they just want an ease to use. And also sometimes we tend to think that we tend to think like in a protective way of the population, and that's not right. People are really clever, and they will figure this type of solutions as we build them as we build the solutions for them.
I love that. I love that thinking. I mean, it's true. People adopt, people are looking to reduce pain and increase convenience or pleasure or whatever value, whatever it is. And so whatever pathway they find is where they're going to go. I really appreciate that comment. Let's get into a little bit. We have several questions in the chat here related to El Salvador. And so, I know you all were involved. Can you just tell us a little bit about what's going on in El Salvador? A very interesting market on the global stage, and a little bit about your involvement. And one particular question here is, what are the risks now that Bitcoin is legal tender? We know that the benefits are clear, but what could be some potential risks?
Absolutely. So I think that El Salvador is a great example of how technology moves faster than money. And for the adoption of people of El Salvador, around of 70% didn't have access to a bank account, to any financial services. It's purely a dollarized cash economy. So with the adoption of Bitcoin, this can change. This changed in days. Today they have more than 3 million users with a population of around 7 million people. So adoption is increasing. So why is this? There is this project called Bitcoin Beach that basically where everything started, and we interviewed one of the founders, and this person told me the story about it was someone called, I think, Don Ramon or something like that. That was a fisherman that never had access to financial services. It was 100 cash all his life. And then because of the project, he started gaining payments in Bitcoin. And by obtaining payments in Bitcoin, just by having a financial service that was a wallet, this person understood or got the opportunity to save whatever amount it saved, but money was not burning in his hands anymore. He could store it safely somewhere in a digital means. And the story finishes like with a great happy ending where this fisherman changed all his teeth because now he had access to Bitcoin and to savings, not to Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin, Nether, whatever, but it had access to a financial service, and to the most basic one, like storing their money without fearing that someone is going to hijack them. So this impact is huge for a population, and that's a great example of how sometimes sometimes more developed economies don't understand this, because in some way they can trust banks, in some way they can trust that their money is not going to disappear like overnight. That happens in Latin America, that happened like in Argentina. So there's a huge potential there, and that's making crypto useful, not providing access for people. And Bitso has helped specifically with custody services and with the exchange capabilities for those processes. So El Salvador is a super interesting experiment. Obviously, risks are there of Bitcoinizing the economy, but I think that we need to be cautious in the way that sometimes headlines, well, not sometimes, always headlines are more are bigger than they appear. So El Salvador is still a dollarized country, and dollar is the unit of account and the main settlement currency for El Salvador. So just having a decentralized, international, global 24/7 network doesn't break anything from what El Salvador is having in a dollarized economy.
Yeah, Abraham, I want to follow up on that point you mentioned about the continued dollarization of El Salvador, because one feature of the Chivo wallet that I think is less flashy, but at least in the near term may be more important, is the fact that it can either hold Bitcoin or dollars and has instant convertibility between those. And so I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts on, at least in the near term, whether Salvadoran consumers and users of the Chivo wallet will be more inclined to use that digital dollar transfer feature, or whether they will be experimenting with Bitcoin as an option to use in commerce?
That's a great question. And let me start by an initial distinction. When we talk about Bitcoin, we need to understand that there are two elements there. The asset, Bitcoin, the asset, that it's spelled with a small cap B, and Bitcoin, the network, that it's spelled with a capital B, or with an all cap B. So what's the main difference? The Bitcoin network is the network that it's 24/7, that can operate permissionless globally, all the great features that we know. There's this thing called the Lightning Network that is a faster settlement mechanism for the Bitcoin network. The asset that is transported or transferred through the Bitcoin network is Bitcoin. So when people transfer Bitcoin, are using the Bitcoin network, okay? So this asset is native of this network, and is important because of its decentralization and its economic policy, that you cannot have, there are not gonna be never more than 21 million Bitcoins. Every 10 minutes, a round of 6.25 Bitcoins are created, all those things. So the convertibility and holding dollars, like I can send you, Tim, right now, I don't know, $5 in Bitcoin through the Lightning Network, and maybe you'll never know that it was Bitcoin. You'll receive $5 because you'll have instant convertibility. But if I wanted to do that with the SWIFT or with Western Union, it's impossible. Only the fees are like $25. So I cannot do that. So it's important to understand this difference between the network and the asset. And sometimes in the news, people only go to understand the asset and not the network. And the network is a lot more important than the asset, because the network is the thing that connects the financial system. The network is the technology. The asset is just another asset.
Yeah, that is such a powerful point, and I think really speaks to the fact that many consumers, even those who aren't enthusiastic about holding a crypto asset, would be very interested in the benefits of having crypto, speed up and reduce the cost of transfers. And so I think it's really interesting to think about how crypto can enhance the plumbing of the inner mechanisms of the financial system that gets money to people living throughout this region.
Yeah, absolutely. I love putting this example, like, again, comparing with the internet. The first companies that were successful in the internet were infrastructure companies, infrastructure technology companies, the AOLs, the companies that literally created the cables to connect your phone to this global network. Afterwards, the Facebooks came, the Amazons came, the Twitches came, the Pinterests, but the Netflix, but those were like ideas in the early days of the internet. Those were like things that people said, so you're gonna watch TV on the internet. Okay, good luck. We'll talk in 100 years or whatever. And then it happened. So it's the same thing with crypto. Right now we're creating the pipes, and there are all these exciting projects with DeFi that they will come to light as technology evolves. So it's a matter of time, I think.
Abraham, thank you so much. I really like that metaphor of laying the pipes in these early stages. And then once that's done, it's like the possibilities are endless. We probably can't even imagine the implications that will come. So Thank you very much. We have a lot of questions in the chat still. We're going to try to, connect with you guys offline to answer some of these questions. We'll have to schedule another call with you, Abraham, to continue this discussion. So much engagement. Thank you all so much. We're just going to wrap up in the last few minutes here. So I'll turn it back over to Tim to kind of present our final takeaways. So over to you, Tim.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lindsay. And we've talked about many different aspects of the crypto ecosystem and crypto uptake over the last hour, but three big things that we want you to take away and be thinking about when you think about crypto in LatAm. First is that there is exploding interest for crypto products, with some 8% of consumers already having purchased crypto, and another nearly 20% is interested in purchasing. But this next generation of consumers is much more interested in crypto as a tool for protecting their savings and getting access to more stable money, and alleviating the concerns about crypto of these this next wave of crypto consumers. One strategy to do that is through endorsements from trusted institutions. So either your international brands or through local banks that can enable access to crypto assets. For example, through a partnership with Bitso. And then a final thing that we'll just mention is that crypto integrations, particularly those that are seamless, are going to be fundamental for enabling the usage of crypto. So we talked a bit about crypto-enabled debit cards, these kinds of tools that fit neatly into consumers, into the tools that they are already comfortable with and in their preferences for how they pay for things. Those are going to have the highest chance, at least in the near term, of bringing consumers into the ecosystem. So these are tools that everyone in the payments ecosystem should be thinking about enabling. And then a final piece from us, just to mention, AMI, as Lindsay mentioned, we are a research firm, and we have a suite of research products and services that we wanted to mention for all on the chat today. So we have kind of three main buckets here. Up at the top, we do offer corporate crypto workshops. So getting your team up to speed on the latest developments in the crypto space, as well as helping you to craft a crypto strategy. We also offer a monitoring service to help you stay abreast of developments in the crypto space and regulatory shifts that are going to be important for the future of the ecosystem. And then finally, we do research engagements like the one that we presented today, only on a larger scale and tailored to your needs and your interests. And as Lindsay mentioned, that this data doesn't exist yet, or it's not well published or well covered. And so there's an opportunity to be the first one to have it and gain a strategic edge. So we will, you can reach out to me, my email's there, but we'll also put out a quick poll to gauge interest, and we can follow up and chat with you at greater length about how we can help support you in crafting a crypto strategy.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, just to mention, you guys, if this is a confusing space, there's a lot to learn. So just reach out if you're curious about how we can help you better understand the space and better develop your strategy. Totally no pressure. We'll just reach out if that's of interest to you. So just take another 10 to 15 seconds to get everyone a chance to respond. And in the meantime, while we're wrapping this up, Abraham, I want to thank you again so much for being here. And any final thoughts you want to leave us with as we close out today's session? Perfect.
Thank you for the invite. We're always super happy to participate in these spaces. Count on me and on Bitso for any follow-up that you need. And I think that the final thing that I love always to say in this kind of forums is that crypto and Bitcoin are a technology, and technology sometimes might be scary, but we need to understand it, and the best way is understanding it from like being thoughtful of what's happening. Obviously, if you ever meet someone that says like buy Bitcoin is the future and just invest in it, maybe you need to be worried about that people. We need to have like be down to earth, understand how the technology is evolving. And also, I have never met someone, this is literal, I have never met someone in my life that after reading a little bit about Bitcoin are not curious or don't want to understand it in some way. We have examples as Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, like the big investors, up until like my father, you know? So just having a position of denial to a technology because of press can be a risk for your business and for yourself. So we need to be open to understand this industry.
I love that final insight, Abraham. Thank you so much. I think it's true that these advanced technologies, they awaken something in us, right? Something that's reaching for more, that wants greater possibilities and wants to believe in something greater. So, something to be embraced and to be open to. So thank you so much for your passion, your knowledge, for sharing with us. Tim, thank you so much for walking us through that data. Everyone, thank you for being here. Again, we'll be sending out the deck and the recording, so keep your eyes out for that. And we look forward to seeing you in another session soon. Have a great rest of your day.